Ziggy.
What's up, Cope?
Man, good episode. I think coming up here with our buddy Mike Hinckley on. Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm excited to talk to him. I know we both like watching this kid play,
Yeah,
and we
yeah.
both like him. Yeah.
I'm super excited. He's one of my favorite men's basketball players to watch play in the last 15 years. You knew right away when he came as a freshman, he was different. He had a poise about him, what I call moxie, right? I love left-handed point guards, right? Of course, he went to the same high school as a kid, a left-handed point guard we played with. So just right from the start, I loved watching him play, and he did not disappoint. He had a great 4-year career.
Now, can I give you his stats?
Please do.
Here's what I've got him. I've got him 7 times in the record books, 3rd in steals all time, 5th in assists all time, number 6 all time for starts. He started 87 games in his career, right?
Pretty good.
7th in 3-point field goal percentage. And I think you had that number. What was his number? Do you remember?
38.7.
Yeah,
37.8.
And 9th in free throw, and I think he was 81% there. For all those are all career. And then he also tied my buddy and teammate Tommy Warnock, tied for 2nd for most free throws made in a row, 28. Right? That's a pretty significant amount.
Yeah.
So, I'm excited to talk to him. We really like him. Anything you're thinking about asking him or looking forward to asking him? You know, he's one of the younger people we're interviewing.
Yeah, it's good to go young. He's a 2019 graduate, right? He basically had a good career. He followed the great 3-year run of men's basketball, right? So I think, as I've said to you, he's the kind of player you can recruit when you've been to the NCAA tournament 3 years in a row. Right?
Yeah, I like that.
He also has a pretty cool career. He's in sports psychology. He's around athletes. So I want to ask him about that.
Well, I love it. I think that's a great way for us to lead into it. But before we jump in, let's do a quick commercial for the Friends of Red Devil Basketball. We always have Alumni Hoops Weekend. It's coming up, Ziggy, in February of 2026, February 21st and 22nd, right? We're asking everybody to grab a teammate and come back. Get a room. We'll make it easy. You'll get emails to make this easy. Come back to Alumni Hoops Weekend. Anything you can think of on that, Bram?
Well, I just think you're a little challenged. I think it's Friday the 20th and Saturday the 21st.
I'm very challenged.
But we should check that. Yeah.
Thank you for checking my dates. Just shut up. Just come that weekend. How's that? How's that for a commercial?
Yeah, come back. That's what we always say. Just come back.
Yep, just come back. And let's talk now to our buddy who does come back most of the time, Mike Hinckley.
Yeah. Well, here we go, Cope. We got Mike Hinckley with us. I'm super excited about this one. Mike Hinckley is a 2015-2019 player. He had a good run, some good teams, especially I think it was Mike, your sophomore year team. He went to the Centennial Finals, right? But of course, he kind of came on the heels of a really good run, right? And I've always thought like Mike Hinckley's the kind of player you get if you go to the NCAA tournament 3 times in a row, right? Just a very solid player. I loved him because he's a lefty guard. One of my favorite people in the world is a guy we played with, a lefty guard, and they happen to both go to the same high school outside of Philadelphia or in Philadelphia. So I'm super excited to have Mike. Welcome, Mike.
Yeah, thank you. Happy to be here. I appreciate the kind words.
Hey, Hank, did you I think Ziggy brings up a good point. Did you follow those teams when you were in high school? Those Dickinson teams. Like, I was curious how much you knew about them.
By the time I was getting recruited there, I was following them that my whole senior year. So that run with Jerry's class and Chris Cox and Steve Collins and all those guys, Pete Yinks. They were really exciting. I went out, I was there for the NCAA tournament games against Albertus Magnus, and I think it was some other Mass team. I think they played in the first round, and the Albertus Magnus game was awesome.
That's one of the best college basketball games I've ever seen. I was at that too. I didn't know you were at that.
I was there. My teammate from Episcopal, Chris McNeil, was a year above me, and he was there, freshman on that team. So I had reason to go out, and it was exciting. It was Ted Hinnekamp, I think, had 32 points on 16 left-handed layups. and including the game winner.
And knowing Teddy, he was probably 16 of 16.
Yeah, he's 16 of 16 with like 3 blocks and 4 steals and 8 rebounds.
Yeah.
And then said, "Oh shucks," afterwards or something. Yeah.
So hold up, let's talk about this. We're kind of go out of order, but I'd love to hear, and we can edit this, but I'd love to hear your perspective about being recruited by a really good team, right? Right now we're dealing with, you got some teams struggling and we're recruiting some good players and it's a different path. But here you are, a good high school player, and you're being recruited by Al, who has, basically 3 straight good teams, right? So tell us a little bit about who you chose Dickinson from. Who else was looking at you?
Yeah, so it started with Stewie Smith recruiting me, and then Dolan came in for him, and then continued with Coach Soretti, obviously, as things got closer to the end. And I was looking at mostly other D3 schools, kind of trying to get to that Patriot League level, but it became kind of clear that was going to be kind of more a walk-on opportunity where I'd probably grind for 3 years to maybe play my senior year. So I kind of settled into all right, this decent level D3 is a pretty good level for me. And the other schools I was kind of down to was I really wanted to go to Middlebury at first. Actually, I just really liked the school for some reason. I think they did some kind of documentary on the some filmmaker at the school did some documentary, and it was really well made, and it made me really excited about it. So I wanted to go there, but then I realized that their point guard as a freshman when I was a junior, I guess, was the coach's nephew. And so I was like, all right, I'm not going to go try to mess around with that situation. So kind of quick. And they didn't really even – I visited and everything, but they didn't recruit me all that hard. But the other schools I was really down to was like University of Rochester and Swarthmore. And both were good options. Honestly, Landry Kosmowski at SWAT recruited me really hard. And I liked him, and I liked their program and what they were doing. But ultimately, it was 20 minutes from my house. I didn't love the school as much as I liked Dickinson on my visit, and I just felt more comfortable. And I loved Coach Soretti. Felt really comfortable with him. Felt like I really believed in him, and obviously where the program was at the time, it was fantastic. So I knew that they were going to be good in the future. So.
Okay, I just got to jump in here because we know that you're left-handed. We know you went to Episcopal. We know you have a lot of moxie. That's why we think you remind us of our teammate, Jim Shanahan.
Well, he was described, we described him as Shanahan except athletic.
And a brain. But I just want to say that Shanahan chose Dickinson between Dickinson and Rochester as well.
Oh, really?
When he chose Dickinson, Rochester had just been to, I think, the NCAA D3 final, right, Cope?
Yeah.
Shanahan has this great story about his dad basically cursed and said, "There's no way you're going to deal with Rochester winners. Go to Dickinson."
Yeah.
Sounds right. That sounds like our Shanahan experience.
Another connection between Mike Hinckley and Jim Shanahan. Anyway, we
interesting.
Sorry.
The similarities end right there.
Yes.
So Hink, let's jump now chronologically back because we'll end up back at your experience at Dickinson. And
sure.
How'd you get into hoops? How old were you when you started playing hoops?
I mean, as young as I can remember. My dad played basketball all his life, and so I kind of grew up going to the Monday night pickup games at Baldwin and messing around on the other end of the floor, shooting underhand for a while. And he was like, yeah, you can't do that. And here's why. And it would just block me. And I was like, oh, okay. Guess you got to figure out how to really shoot at some point. But yeah, I've always played basketball. In my neighborhood growing up, it was a bunch of kids my age, which was awesome. I was kind of on the younger end of it. So I think that actually really helped me. But we would just play every day after school, whatever we had, 1-on-1, 2-on-2, 3-on-3, played some 4-on-4 in a driveway. And yeah, it was just all my life growing up. I played a bunch of other sports too, but basketball was always the one that I really loved the most.
And what's your hometown? I know, we know generally.
Oh yeah. Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania. Great area. Loved growing up there. Had a great neighborhood that was kind of, the way it was the subdivision, whatever, was built at the time when, a bunch of families of the same kind of stage of life moved in. And so I grew up with my neighbors that I talk with almost every day now, and we're all kind of around the same age and played all sports together growing up. So it's great.
So how do you end up at Episcopal? That's in Philadelphia, right? So a little bit of commute from you from Bryn Mawr. Why not the public school? Were you recruited to play basketball at Episcopal? How did that work?
Yeah, so actually, so it was in Philadelphia, right, like, across City Line Ave. But then when I was coming into high school was when they moved out to Newtown Square. So it was only like 10 minutes from me then. I went to like a Catholic private school for grade school that just ended in 8th grade. And so I really wanted to go to St. Joe's Prep and play for Speedy Morris. But honestly, he didn't really want me. Me and my dad went and talked with him, and my teammate in middle school, Chris Clover, was highly recruited there, and they went on to play at St. Joe's University and then play pro. They loved him and they wanted him, but they just didn't want me. It was pretty obvious, and so my dad was like, yeah, I mean, it would kind of be stupid to go there, and versus like Craig Conlon, my coach at Episcopal, was really welcomed me and kind of really seemed like he wanted me to be there and wanted to develop me. And I think my dad was kind of saw the vision that would be a better place for me to develop as a player. I mean, also both schools are great. Like there was nothing wrong with any of the schools. So kind of ended up there and developed when I was there a lot.
Do you go to Episcopal and play right away, right? Because you came to Dickinson and you started 19 of 21 games your freshman year, right? So you basically played right away. But what was your path at Episcopal?
Yeah, I was bad. My freshman year, I played soccer, which was like kind of somewhat of my main sport when I was younger, club wise and whatever. I get in my freshman year, and I was just small. I was weak. I couldn't shoot great. I turned the ball over a lot. I wasn't great. My sophomore year, I was probably worse. I was on JV again, and got benched at a certain point. We had like 7 guys, and I wasn't starting by the end of the year. So I was pretty bad when I got there, and then that sophomore year experience really was what like turned everything around for me, where I was just like, F this, I want to be good. And I just started really working hard. Like that whole spring, I remember I was playing AAU, but I was like working out every morning, like with my neighbor, like in the driveway. I was like getting to school early to do my homework so I could go like get extra shots up, whatever. My sophomore year to junior year body of work was what really developed me, I think, as a player. Came in my junior year, grew a little bit more, which helped, and found myself starting on varsity on a good team. We had a great year, and just kind of continued the work. I give a lot of credit to my coaches, Craig Conlon and Kelsey and Woody Burke. We did summer workouts all the time, extra work opportunities all the time. I was in there on the gun, was working out with Chris McNeil all the time. Like there were so many opportunities I had to work on my game and help me get a lot better. By the time I was junior, senior, I just kind of figured it out.
Ziggy, it's interesting, isn't it, when we talk to certain people who, like, this is becoming a theme and we didn't realize it, where people, players, guys, girls are like, yeah, and I just had a really, really, really big summer. I just worked really hard over the summer and came back like a completely different player. And you're not the only one who says that. And we often talk about that. I think that is it seems like a hoops phenomenon where you come back in September and a coach is like, man, Hank had a good summer. Like and it sounds like you had one.
And I'm going to talk about this later when we talk about your Dickinson career, but I think you had a good summer between your sophomore and junior year at Dickinson as well. So you have a good junior year, you have a good team. When did the D3 letters start? Do you start hearing from coaches your junior year?
Yeah, it was probably junior year. High school, I started getting some stuff. Trying to remember back, I really didn't like the AAU circuit. I didn't play on like a big AAU team at all. By the time I was going into my senior year, in that summer, I was playing on a team that basically like my dad made with like a friend of his, Mark Lazanik, who's a coach as well. And we kind of just grabbed a couple other guys who like weren't playing on any other AAU team and like threw a team together. And so I wasn't on like any kind of UIBL circuit or anything that other guys were on that got a lot of good exposure. So I was never really highly recruited. But yeah, it all started coming in after my junior year, kind of like high school year into that summer.
When did do you know when you showed up on Dickinson's radar? It's probably on Stewie's, right? Like,
Yeah, Stewie Smith. I think I talked to him after like with the Hill School puts on a tournament every year, and my junior year was like by that time I was starting. So probably around then. And yeah, and then in the summer I went to the one of the hoop group camps, like the hoop group academic elite camp, where actually I played with Elijah, and he'll love this story if he listens to this. We were playing together in the All-Star game, and he's playing really well. I think he's on the other team, I'm on one team, whatever, and like I end up winning the All-Star MVP award, and he was pissed because he thought he should have got it, all that, and then so by the time we're friends at Dickinson, I was like, oh, you know what? I got to pull out that shirt that I have, and I started wearing the All-Star MVP shirt around the dorm together, and he didn't like that, but yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna make sure I make sure he gets this link. I will make sure, and I
Oh,
will
yeah.
tell him where the timestamp is of
Yeah.
that. Oh yeah,
I love that. Nah, he's the best. We talk all the time.
So when did you commit to Dickinson? Did you apply ED? You knew you wanted to go there? Was it normal spring admission? Tell us a little bit about that, senior year journey for you.
Yeah, by the time I got to like senior year starting, I was like September. I was kind of down to. I visited Swarthmore. Well, that fall I visited Swarthmore, visited Dickinson. Never made the visit up to Rochester, and really after I visited Dickinson, I was just like felt great about Coach Soretti and the program, and I think I didn't commit fully like on the spot talking to him after the visit, but I walked away from there pretty convinced that I was gonna make that decision after sleeping on it. And so it was, probably mid-September, middle of like my soccer season senior year, which was a great kind of relief. I only applied to Dickinson ED. It was much easier.
Oh, wow, that's great.
Application process. Yeah.
And so obviously you probably met some players and you had a good experience, but what else about the college did you love? We hear people saying the campus. I've always loved Dickinson's campus. I'm a big fan of the Klein, the building. I've always loved it. So tell us your perception on those two things, campus and Klein.
I liked the campus. I mean, it was beautiful. I was there on like a nice day in the fall. The Klein was nice. I mean, I was a little weirded out by the gym at first. I had never seen a gym like that with how the roof was, the floor I thought was kind of weird. But I loved it. I mean, I was there. I think guys were playing pickup or just shooting around, so I was kind of like shooting around with them for a little bit, I want to say. And just like chatting with Jerry and Steve, and like, those guys had such a good bond and such a good like brotherhood and chemistry, and I just like felt like, wow, I love how these guys are. Like, I want to be part of something like this, and it seems like that's part of the experience here.
Right.
I was gonna. So we almost skipped over a part. How was you said your high school team? How were they? Were they good? How'd you guys do?
We were good. We were under talented and overperformed, I'd say.
Right.
We were my junior year. Like my junior year was a great year with like Chris McNeil. He was kind of like a two for us. We had a really great point guard in Mike Gelasso, who played at Westchester. We had a great freshman up and coming kid, Nick Alakakos, who was really good, and he ended up playing at Westchester as well. Connor Martin, a good friend of mine, who was like a 6'1", that was like a pick and pop shooter. Just like he was strong and could guard, and it was weird. We kind of made it work, and so we had some younger guys. Matt Woods, it was like a great shooter. We had a bunch of guys not super like talented or springy or big, but we beat some really good teams just by kind of how we played. Played really hard. Our coach Conlon was a great coach. Taught us the game well, but also just like the culture of the program got much better. My freshman year, I was on JV, but the varsity team was 1-9, and by the time we were juniors and seniors, we were playing for the Interact Championship. And so we were good. My senior year, we were good. Just didn't have enough talent to beat GA, who had a couple D1 guys, Yeah, but we beat Haverford a couple times, who had like Lamar Stevens, Sean Austin, Cam Reddish, like some really talented teams.
Yeah.
It was rewarding. Connor Delaney as well. I forgot to mention Connor Delaney was a freshman.
I was going to ask about him. Yeah.
Yeah. He got a lot better throughout his time. Yeah.
So you mentioned a point guard on that team. So what position were you playing your junior year? Were you the shooting guard on that team?
Yeah, I was like a 2.
Okay.
Kind of similar to how Dickinson became like between me, Bryce, and Elijah. It's all just kind of got put into positions to score and make plays.
Right.
That's a nice backcourt you just named, by the way. You, Bryce, and Elijah. I'm like, oh my God, that's right. I forgot. It's a really good group of players.
It was fun.
Yeah. So, all right. So you decide you're going to go to Dickinson. You go ED. You have a good senior year in hoops. Yeah. And you hit campus. Where'd you live?
My freshman year, I was in DW. Davidson. I don't even know what it is. It was DW, right across from the Klein. It was great, and I was coming back from knee surgery at the time, so it was good to be close to the Klein. Didn't have to crouch too far.
Like a bad knee? Like, did you blow out your knee? Like, what kind of knee surgery?
I had a really weird knee surgery my senior year. I was pretty hampered by the kneecap, the patella is supposed to be kind of one big bone, and my bone just genetically was like kind of these 2 floating fragments, and normally it doesn't bother people, but just playing basketball, it made it really painful. So it was somewhat of a, not like experimental surgery, but kind of an uncertain surgery. What they did, had to kind of remove the quad, detach the quad, remove the 2 bone fragments, and then reattach the quad. So it was kind of like a quad repair surgery more than anything. So it was like 6 months, got it in June, and then
that's pretty significant.
Yeah, I couldn't play the first practice. I couldn't play, couldn't do any of the fall stuff really, just working out on my own.
Okay, so I was going to ask you, Mike, because you guys go 13-13 that year, right? I think you're young after Wickstead leaves, but you only played in 21 games. So are you saying that's because you kind of were slow to get up that season because of the knee?
Yeah, I couldn't play for the first, I don't know, however many games. And then I probably didn't play for a couple games. And then, played down in North Carolina, and then I think started after that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You played 21, started 19, but the team played 26. So I was going to ask you about that. God, so it's a knee injury. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. I didn't know that either. I don't remember that. I mean, I remember when you were I remember your first year. I remember watching you play, but I didn't remember you had that delayed start.
Yep. I was in khakis and a polo for the first couple games.
Right.
And then I probably just DNP'd, coach's decision for the first couple too, until I got into it.
That's unlikely, but I do have a question, though. I'm a stats guy, right? So I'm looking at your stats, and we'll talk about your stats during the intro. I'm not going to bore you with them. But so you come in, you play 21 games your freshman year, you start 19. So clearly you're a player right away, right? Mature guard, and we all loved watching you play. You come back sophomore year, you guys play 27 games, and you only start 18.
Mm-hmm.
So was there some kind of like a disciplinary thing there going on, Mike, your sophomore year, right? Like, I just want to know what happened sophomore year, because it jumps out, right? Because in your junior and senior year, you basically start all the games, et cetera, et cetera. But so what's going on sophomore year? I want to hear the story.
The story would be looking at shot attempts on the last couple games that I started before I stopped starting. I basically, handcuffed myself in the last couple of games before I stopped playing. I mean, probably throughout the whole beginning of the year. I was way too in my head about not making mistakes, that I wasn't shooting. I was being way too hesitant. I was overthinking everything. This is a little bit of kind of how I got into sports psychology. But yeah, I was bad mentally and bad production-wise on the court. And, Bryce was doing a really good job coming in off the bench and making plays and scoring. And so it made sense. So we were back playing at Haverford. Coach talked to me and Jewel before and was like, we got to make a change. And you guys are going to come off the bench. And honestly, I think it kind of helped. I kind of loosened up a little bit, not feeling like all the pressure.
See, those are the nuggets, Cope. Those are the stories I love. I love that.
Same here. Was that pressure all self-induced?
Oh yeah. It was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of reflected on it a lot. I think a lot of it was just like my development throughout high school getting a lot better. I started just really expecting a lot of myself and being way too kind of perfectionistic about basketball. And it's not an easy sport to be perfectionistic about, right? Like you have to take shots and miss shots in order to make shots and all that. And I just started. I was my prerogative was avoiding mistakes rather than trying to play to win and play to score and all that.
That's fascinating.
I remember you struggling. You were very good, but I remember you looked uncomfortable looking for your own shot. And I'd forgotten that till you just brought that up. There was a stretch where you were really trying to, I just remember thinking, he's really trying to make plays for other players. And he needs to just start trying to finish and everything will be easier.
100%.
I totally forgot about that. Wow.
Yeah, 100%. I think the last game before I stopped starting, like I didn't score. I played like probably 28 minutes, 30 minutes, and didn't score. And if I was coach, I would do the same thing.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great story. I love that, right? Because if you look at your stats, you come in, like I said, you're a good player, you average 6. Your sophomore year kind of had the same stats, right? And then you make the big jump your junior year, get up to 11 points. So I want to talk to you about that summer. But it sounds like now, like sophomore year, you're just kind of maybe in your head a little bit, right? You didn't progress as much as maybe you thought or we all thought you would. And then junior year, you come back and boom, you double your output. So that's an interesting story.
Yeah. I don't know exactly what was the difference going into junior year. I made a big leap mentally going into my senior year. I know that, but junior year, I just kind of remember coach feeling like me, Elijah, and Bryce being on the floor is gonna help us be the best team we can be, and that with some other guys that were kind of rotating in, but like running some ball screen and off ball screen actions with 3 of us was going to be our best chance. And I think the confidence that he had in me coming off after that year was great. Also, the end of the year, I was playing a lot better. The end of that sophomore year, like the playoff game against F&M, I played great. So I think I went into the offseason feeling a little bit better than where I was midseason.
Oh, I was going to ask you, Hank, before. So what was it that you felt like? Was there something that got you out of it? Was it gradual, or was it something that somebody said to you, or some realization you came to?
That got me out of the kind of...
Yeah, got you sort of out of the avoid mistakes mentality.
Well, I know what helped me going from my junior year to my senior year was just hearing about the field of sports psychology and just like learning. I literally learned about it at a Dickinson internship panel. Some like football player mentioned that he's interested in sports psychology, and it was the first time I've ever heard the word sports psychology. And I, asked him about it and asked some other people about it, and kind of got introduced to this whole like field of books and research and authors, and like Ken Ravizza, all these guys, heads up baseball author, bunch of different content on sports psychology. And I basically just kind of consumed everything that I could and started shifting a lot of my work. Like I always kind of putting a lot of hours into the gym and worked hard at it, but I kind of shift my work from working harder to working smarter and being more deliberate practice, more mental practice, kind of some things like that. I worked out in the summer at a sports psychology firm called Premier Sports Psychology in Minneapolis, actually, and then played with the St. Thomas team and got to work out in their gym. And I was basically just kind of experimenting on myself with everything that I was learning about sports psychology through the internship, on how to like improve my everything. Like I remember free throws was a big thing I really worked on. And then like in terms of the mental side of things, and that had a huge, output benefit for me going into my senior year. I think I started off the year making like a ton in a row. But yeah, work smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
Ziggy, was it Roe? Was Roe Falcone talking to us about that? Who was it that we interviewed who were saying, I'm trying to remember.
Well, Roe talked about kind of her mental struggles after her second knee injury and how Coach Stats helped her work through that. Yeah.
Yeah, so, it's funny, Hank. We had a guy come in and as an assistant coach later in our career, in mine. And he was an assistant at Joe Stashishin, Stats, he's known as, and he does this professionally now. And he was helping us do visualization. This is 1990, right?
Oh, really?
And I think we kind of bought in, Ziggy. I know I kind of felt like we did, and it was incredibly helpful to me. And I remember thinking, like, where was this? Why didn't I hear about this 10 years ago? So I'm not surprised. It was, and you're not the only person that's told us this. It's really, really intriguing.
I was visualizing in the. No, it's just funny. I was doing some visualization in the ATS prayer room. That I might have been the only person to ever use that. There was never anybody in there. I would go in there like after lunch on game days and most practice days and like meditating and visualizing.
Love it.
In there. That's a fun memory.
Does Al use you to work with the current team? Is he utilizing your skill set here on this stuff?
I've talked with them the last couple of years. I've talked with them during some like the Thursday night meetings. But throughout the year, no.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about it.
I mean, this is a newer path that we're talking about, just kind of your mental development, right, through your 4 years at Dickinson. And you had mentioned, I liked Middlebury because there was a documentary about it. I mean, I think people 10 years from me, it's like, I went to Dickinson because they had this cool podcast, right? But I think this podcast for young players and like prospective players hearing your journey, I think it's fascinating. It's really good stuff.
Yeah. Hank, so tell me about the teams, your sophomore, junior, senior year. We talked about you were 13-13 your freshman year. Talk us through your
started 2-9 that year, and then started 2-9, and then rally off like 7 in a row, beat SWAT, go to the playoff, and then lose.
Because that was Brandon and Teddy's senior year, is that right? Mm-hmm. And I remember coming back to Alumni Hoops Weekend and talking to you guys, and you guys had made this run. And I remember saying to you guys, like, people don't want to play you in the playoffs, right? Mm-hmm. You are peaking at the right time. So I remember that year very well.
Yep. Playoff game was tough. Shots just didn't fall for Brandon and Ted. But the next 3 years were good years. I mean, sophomore year was definitely the closest we got, and It was an interesting year, right? Like we lost Brandon and Ted. Rob Pickett was obviously a senior and was the only guy in that class. So it was a bunch of juniors and sophomores, and only had Bryce as a freshman. So it was kind of like our two classes, with the bulk of the work. And like we had a weird year. We like weren't really clicking and like playing that well. They're that cohesively together, but like there were stretches of time where we were like really dominant, especially with some of the lineups we had with like Mo and Jewel and Justice and Elijah, like just incredibly athletic, long, good instincts kind of guys defensively. And we were dominant at times. I mean, some frustrations throughout the year, but kind of got into the position of being in the playoff and played F&M. We're like down early on in the game, and then came back and won that. And then obviously the SWAT final was a heartbreaker. We were up 10 with 10 minutes to go, I think. I still haven't watched that film, but we were up 10 with like 10 minutes to go and just couldn't score. And they hit a couple big daggers, and it's tough to think about.
Our 5th podcast, and every single guest has that moment that they can't think about, or they think about too much. Like you just mentioned, right? The loss to SWAT bar. You'll never forget it. It eats at you, and yet it's one of the greatest things that we have, having done what we've done, right? So
yeah.
Yep. That one was brutal.
Let's change the topic, because I'm already thinking of mines. Like, oh God, now I'm not going to sleep tonight. Okay, so overall, at what point what did you think you might go into after college before you sort of became interested in sports psychology? Like, did you know what you wanted to be, or have no idea?
No. Like I said, I hadn't even heard of that until I got older. I went in really not knowing what I wanted to do, but I went in with saying, okay, I'll just be an econ major, because I had watched Moneyball, and I was like, all right, Billy Bean or whatever was an econ major, and you got to do anything. And I was like, maybe I'll, be in sports, or like, I was like, econ's good to know, whatever.
Yep.
So I was doing econ, and then I took a social psychology class my freshman year, and I just found everything about the class fascinating. Like I liked doing the readings, I liked the class discussions. I was fascinated by it. So I was like, I'm gonna take some more psych classes, see how this goes. And by the time I was a sophomore, I was still taking the psych classes, and I was like, all right, why don't I just major? Like I ended up just double majoring because I had already gone so deep into the econ that I was like, might as well have this, both degrees. So I ended up double majoring in both, thinking about psychology as I really like cognitive psychology. I really like social psychology. I found a lot of the research interesting. I really wasn't thinking about sports psychology at all. And then once I found out that this field existed and got a lot better my senior year, I was just fully knew that I wanted to go into this field and basically be the resource that I wish I had growing up, and in college. And that's, what I get to do now and love it. I never feel like I'm working.
That's not everybody can say that. Yeah. Sorry, Ziggy.
How would your life have been different, Mike, if in that moment, sophomore year, where Al came to you and said, hey, we're going to make a change because something's not working, if you'd had a sports psychologist to talk to?
Oh, would have been a lot different. I think I really lacked a lot of self-awareness at the time to recognize what was going on mentally and emotionally and physically. And I think if I had been working with someone, I just would have been, asked some of those questions and prompted some reflection and awareness of what exactly was going on. Like I know now that I was way too afraid of making a mistake and focusing more on avoiding that than on trying to score. But I didn't know that then. I was just kind of, you don't know what you don't know kind of thing. And I was just blindly going forward, trying to not make mistakes.
So I think you went right to grad school, right? Isn't that right? Right out of Dickinson, you went up to Boston area, went to grad school. So when did you make that decision? Okay, you talked about when you were like, hey, wow, what's sports psychology? But when did you make the decision, hey, I'm going to do this? And you started applying to grad school, et cetera. That had to be fall of your senior year, right?
Yeah. Yep. Fall of senior year is when I applied. It must have been junior year that I had that internship, intern panel comment about sports psychology, and then I got into it. I probably was reading some stuff junior year to improve my game, and then I did this internship at the sports psych firm between my junior year and senior year. Learned a ton, and I loved what they were doing, and I was like, all right, this is what I definitely know I want to do.
So a Philly kid going to college in mid-Penn, and you end up in Minnesota for the summer. So walk us through that. That sounds cool.
It was an awesome experience. Honestly, it was great. So this sports psychology firm, they're really impressive. Run by Carly Anderson and her husband Justin Anderson. They were fantastic. They opened up this internship, which was it was an unpaid internship. That was really we couldn't sit in on sessions with people, but we were kind of there to see operations, do some projects for them, learn from them, really just be around how this kind of, type of business operates. And there's not many businesses that are that successful that have that kind of footprint in space. And they've grown a ton since I was there. There was probably 8 or 10 people there. They now have 25 providers. One of my interns from last year is working with them now. So anyway, it was fantastic experience. Got to live out there in Minnesota. Dickinson actually provided some funding for me to pay for housing and transportation out there because they have an internship fund. So I applied for that, got some funding there. So really, really cool experience. And it was the first time I ever been out really in the Midwest. And Minnesota was awesome in the summer. I don't know what it's like in the winter, but summer was great. I was living right across from TCF Bank Stadium. And
did you go to a Twins game or a Timberwolves game while you were there?
Yep. Yeah. Went to a Twins game one time out there. No Timberwolves there, but we did some, the firm was doing some work for the draft for the Timberwolves. Oh. So we were doing some background. One of my projects was some background kind of draft analysis stuff with some of the data that they had, which was really cool.
Yeah.
So what do you, Mike? Today you're doing this professionally, right?
Mhm.
What kind of do you work with? Individuals, teams, programs? What do you talk to me about that? Tell me about that.
Yeah. So my role is awesome. I work in the Harvard Counseling Center and athletic department, kind of under both structures, and I work with individuals. Bulk of the work is with individual athletes, so they come to us and we can really work with them. I work on a team with another person, Meg Willette, who's full time, and then we have two interns that are great, Rachel and Jay. They can come to us to really work on anything along the spectrum of like mental health to sports psychology. Usually it's kind of somewhere in between. So I love that work. And then we do a lot of teamwork as well. We do like captain's circle, like leadership development work. We do some injury related work and support as well. And then some different like coach education and facilitating some uh, coach education, coaches kind of sharing knowledge with each other.
This may be.
Go
ahead,
Cope.
Ziggy. Go ahead.
Do all D1 programs have a function like yours? Do all professional teams now have a function like yours? Like, what are the opportunities for you if you were to leave Harvard? How ubiquitous is this service?
I'd say very ubiquitous, but varies in terms of how it's run. Excuse me, like baseball, MLB has a huge, investment into the mental performance and mental skills around it. Everybody has a mental performance team. They've got multiple people. They've got people down in their farm teams and all that. Other leagues like football, the NFL, they have mental performance people. They also have mental health people. NBA is kind of getting there as well. They're kind of similar. The NCAA has recently kind of mandated that all Division I teams have at least somebody in the counseling center designated as their athletics provider. And so they're starting to boost more support for and advocacy for mental health support. The mental performance piece is a bit more like bigger programs, bigger schools will have more of those people because they can afford it, and there's more of a financial incentive for them to invest into it. But yeah, it's growing like crazy. It feels like it's really been the next wave after like the athletic training, nutrition. Now I think a lot of it is really around mental performance and mental optimization.
Do you see any of it at the D3 level yet?
Yes, but not as well, like institutionally paid for and supported. So there are a lot of people who do work with D3 teams, that's like paid for out of like the team budget. Yeah, stuff like that.
Like bring someone in for a seminar kind of thing, but it's not a daily resource. Got it.
Yeah, it might not be a resource daily, or they would be partnered with them for like throughout the year, but they're not necessarily paid by the athletic department. It's coming out of like the Friends of Red Devil basketball budget or whatever.
Yeah.
Nice plug, Mike. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Let's look into using that budget. And Mike, you are working for athletes at Harvard, right?
Yes.
It's not okay. This is a weird question, but there are teams, there are individuals. Like rowing is different than basketball, right?
Yeah.
There's different. Is there something that are you still drawn to basketball, or are you interested? Like, if you could fill your day with just what you like doing, what would it be?
So that's a good question. I love the novelty and the variety of, like you said, like working with somebody in basketball is going to be way different than what rowing is going to be like. I like the challenge of these like various sports. I mean, we have 42 teams, and I think I think that's the most teams of anybody around the country. So like we have every sport you can imagine. We have wrestling, we have fencing, we have all the rowings. Like we do it all. Honestly, I don't know if there'd be one sport that I would prefer working with. What really just satisfies me is getting to be a part of somebody's experience of like getting better at something that they're struggling with. In this case, it's like either their mental health or their mental performance or whatever it may be along that spectrum. Um, and just like helping, being the resource that helps them self-actualize more and like become the best version of themselves. Right? I talk about a lot as like getting as close to your theoretical ceiling as you can get. Oftentimes, they've done the physical skill prep and all that work, and usually that gap is like some kind of mental gap there. So I just love being a part of that. I love the satisfaction of improvement. Love trying to figure out the puzzle of like what's it going to be for this person that helps them get there. That's going to be very different from the next person.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about how you got here, though. Tell us a little bit about your grad school journey. So we just talked about how you went to grad school right out of Dickinson. How long was the program? Where did you go, et cetera?
Yeah, so I went to BU, 2-year grad program. They are one of the few programs around the country that is kind of a dual licensure, preps you for dual licensure in both mental health counseling and sport performance psychology. So it was technically a master's of education in counseling psychology with a specialization in sports psychology. Most others, it's delineated one or the other. So that was what really drew me to the program. And the first year you get thrown into a sports psychology internship. So like this is one of these ways that D3 teams can get access to this. I was partnered with Emmanuel College, small D3 school here in Boston. I was partnered with their men's lacrosse team. And so I, got to work with them on basically whatever I kind of wanted. Like coach would suggest some stuff as well, but it was like whatever I was like learning in my classes and whatever I got to kind of apply in team workshops, individual work, all that. That afternoon almost with the Emmanuel lacrosse guys, and that was a great experience. I still have a lot of love for that team. They were, under resourced, not as talented as some other teams around the league, but just loved each other and worked really hard and bought into the work that I did with them. And so I give them a lot of credit for being willing to buy in and the captains of that team being willing to buy in. So anyway, that was a really kind of pivotal experience where I was like, I love doing this. This is what I really know I want to do. So the next year that I started 2019, COVID hits in the beginning of the second semester. So that kind of really upended everything. Logistically speaking, my next 2 years were all on, or my next year and a half was all online. We still kind of had some opportunities to do some stuff my second year, but a lot of it honestly was just helping people cope with not being able to play. And everything else that was going on with COVID. So yeah, I got done there and still felt like I felt like I really liked Boston and the area and I didn't really like want to leave yet. And so I was like, all right, I want to continue on doing this. I knew that the mental health track was going to be much kind of safer from a job availability and security side of things. And I knew I needed to get like trained in that in order to do what I want to do. In an integrated way. So I was working at a general mental health counseling site, a community mental health place, in a suburb outside of Boston, and had nothing to do with sports, but it was fantastic experience on just general mental health. Had a great supervisor there, in Kevin Becker, who worked at Boston Trauma Center, and so I feel like I really got some of the best trauma training I could get, and yeah, I was there for 2 years, learned a ton, and then really there's a lot of luck and good timing that went into me getting my license kind of right away as soon as I could, and then the job opening up at Harvard, and applying there, and now it's been 3 years. So.
Hank, I'm going to tell you, like we've known you since you were 18, right? Whatever. It's so cool. If you're listening, maybe people can hear it. but like when I'm watching you talk about certain things, like I can see your eyes light up. Like you really like this. And it makes me happy because like I feel like we've watched you since you were 18 years old, and now you're turning around and helping other people through tough things and stuff that's in their own head in many cases. And I can see you light up. Like I don't know if you realize it. I wouldn't play poker like this, by the way. But it's cool to watch. I just really like it, and I'm happy for you. I mean, I'm just like I'm told I don't do sincere well. I'm being sincere. I'm just happy for you, Ziggy.
Yeah.
Say something less serious. Come on.
No, but it's a great D3 athlete story too,
Yes.
right? I mean, you were a talented player, you took it seriously, but you went to some symposium and you heard two words that you had heard before, but they put them together, and you're like, oh, that sounds cool, and now it's your career. I mean, okay.
Yeah. And by the way, he sees a documentary and almost goes to a college because of it, and then sees Moneyball and like it's interesting, right?
Yeah.
But it's so you're just
That's true. I mean,
classic.
it's random experiences that guide you in life. You know, had that person not been in that panel, I might not be talking to you guys today at all. I don't know.
When we talk to players all the time, Mike, we have this mentorship program, and everyone comes in worried, parents and 18-year-old freshmen, first years, worried about like, either, I don't know what I want to do, or can Dickinson even give me the skills of what I want to do? And we're like, yes, right. You're going to come in, you're going to learn things, you're going to learn how to think critically, but you're going to have all these experiences. And this is a great example, hearing you talk about it, right? Your whole life path changed based on something that you heard and studied. It's great.
Yep, you just got to be open to it. Go to the stuff. Be present.
Right.
Don't just be.
So I have this question I ask everybody, as you know, because I prepped you for it, but I think we already know the answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So, what experience did you have as a Dickinson men's basketball player, either on the court or in the locker room or in the camaraderie with your teammates, that best prepared you for something you've dealt with in your professional life? So I think we know what you're going to say, but because we talked about it, but.
I don't know. I mean, what I was gonna say, thinking about this question, I mean, it's tough because there's so much throughout my experience that I feel like I picked up that goes into what I'm still doing today, in kind of like the sports psychology space. Like, I'm glad I'm still in sports, but I really think the biggest specific thing I would say is just the lessons in leadership that I learned from playing for Coach Soretti and being part of his program, and how he led and how he kind of developed us as leaders was definitely the most impactful thing that I still think about all the time. I mentioned we do this captain's leadership, captain's circle, leadership development work with our captains. And, some of that comes from obviously what I've learned in grad school and in the field of sports psychology on leadership and leadership theory and all that. But a lot of it, honestly, it comes from what I've learned from Coach Soretti. And, he's talked before about his kind of leadership and coaching tree that he comes down from. And so I feel like I've been really lucky to absorb all of that leadership learning from him. My senior year was kind of a tough leadership year with, me, Bryce, and Elijah were captains, and we had two juniors. Bryce was the junior. We had one junior, two sophomores, three sophomores actually, and then 10 freshmen. And so it felt like it was like the adults and the kids.
Right.
And so, there was a lot of kind of ups and downs from that year, but just going through all that, I don't wish it was any different, because I just learned so much about how to lead, both from coach's perspective as a coach leader, but also as a peer leader. And I don't think I was a great peer leader. I think there was a lot of things, looking back, that I wish I had done differently or could have done differently, but still kind of learned some of those lessons. And so now I, love working with the kids, kids I get to work with now. And they're not kids, but, the college athletes I get to work with now, and kind of, give some of that back.
I was going to ask you this, and this is not something I thought of until you just said what you said. And at Ziggy, we actually have a professional, right? He's here. Hinckley's here. If there's something that you could tell all college athletes, like a one thing that you say, look, if you learn nothing from me, take this away. Is there something do you have something, and you can make it 2 or 3 if you think, but like, is there something you wish you could tell everybody and they just immediately grasp because it'd be better for them? Because that's why that's why you do this, right? What would it be?
Yeah, I've reflected on this a lot because coaches ask me to speak with the guys, and it's always like short opportunities. So it's like, what's the one thing I can say? I've come back to really like the two values, I think, of presence and gratitude being like the two most impactful and important, values that you can live by and emphasize and prioritize in your life, really to have a great life, but also to have a great sport experience, right? You guys know how quickly 4 years flies by, right? And there's no antidote to that. There's no going back. There's fifth years, but there's not really fifth years, right?
Well, there's seventh years now.
Right. There's 7th years, 8th years. You get drafted to the NBA, you come back. It doesn't matter. But you can't slow down the experience, but you can slow it down by being present during it and fully experiencing it during it while it's happening and being grateful for that experience while you're having it. Because once it's over, you're not going back. And then sometimes I try to, give them the analogy of like a really good meal is like a small scale version of that. If you have this amazing meal and you just scarf it down in 5 minutes, like how much did you really, savor it and enjoy it versus, if you really mindfully eat that slow and you save every bite and you're not watching a screen as you're doing it and you're not distracted as you're doing it, like your experience of enjoying that meal is going to be categorically different. And so, I think all experiences can be viewed in that way on a smaller or bigger scale.
Oh, that's presence and gratitude. I'm going to remember that. That's great advice.
I like that.
We should end there.
I agree, man. That was great. Hank, thanks for being on this. Like, we were both really looking forward to talking to you. We really were. And
thanks for having me. Thanks for running this. This is fun.
Are we going to see you in February? You come back to Carlisle?
Yes, I think so. It's what, 22nd?
Saturday the 21st.
Yeah.
21st.
It is one of the highlights, watching you and Elijah play, barking at each other. Like, you talk about enjoying it in the presence. I sit there and watch you two dinglings yelling at each other and getting after each other. It's so funny to watch. It's so funny.
It's being back in the Klein. I think our first year back, we played the alumni game, and then we went to the back courts and we played one-on-one for like another hour.
Love it.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. That's the beauty of Alumni Hoop Weekend, baby.
Yeah. I'm trying to get some people back. I should be making it back. I think me and Josh Seymour are going to be driving down from Boston.
Excellent. Good. Good to see both of you. Excellent.
Yeah. See, it seems like a common thing we say, but how great was that interview with Mike Hinckley? How great was he?
He's a great guy. And, let's bring a little youth to the party, right? It was great for us to talk to someone from the class of 2019, right? That was fun.
Yeah. Oh, I really enjoyed it. I thought he would be, we know him a little bit, but this is my first time sort of sitting and just talking to him and asking him about him this deeply. I loved it. Well, any takeaways you want to highlight that you took away from that great conversation with him?
Well, I just loved hearing about kind of what he's done post-career and what he's working on. But for him to go back, 2 things that I really picked up on. One was basically how he talked about his basketball coach at Dickinson, Al Soretti, being a mentor in terms of leadership, right? Obviously, he was a mentor in terms of the game of basketball, but for him to still say that in his career, he uses the leadership lessons that he got from his Division III basketball coach, that really resonated with me. And the other was when he talked about the 2 words, presence and gratitude, right? And how important it is to be present and to live with gratitude. And, you just think about what he's adding to these modern day athletes. And I was thinking as we were talking to him about, the quote that I love from our teammate, right, Jim Sheeker, who basically said in our reunion, that he was thankful to have had the opportunity to care so much about something. But when you care so much about something, there's an obsession with that, right? Mm-hmm. And back in the early 90s, we had no way to talk about that obsession or what it was doing to us, right? But I think in the modern world, that's something that could be harnessed and utilized and put to use in a better way than we were able to put it to use. So that really resonated with me.
That's a really good way to think about it. I like that, and I do. I think he's on the forefront of what's happening in kind of two spaces: sports psychology, which is always interesting to anybody who's in sports, but mental health as well. So yeah, and I didn't realize that he got that type of training as well. I mean, look, for me, I'm telling you, he lights up when he talks about it. I mean, you can see it, like there's something different about him, the tone of his voice. And I just think that's cool to see that in somebody who, I mean, you and I both know, to us, he's young, right? And he seems to have already found his path, and he's on it, and he likes it. And it's just cool to see that. And, we were both discussing, like, they were 2-9 and came back. And that's hard. And that's really hard at Division III. And they were nasty by the end of the year and scary and good.
Yeah.
And we remember that team because we were thinking,
Absolutely.
what is going on with these guys? And then it clicked. Whatever it was, it clicked.
They had some talent. They had two great seniors, all-time great seniors, and then they had freshmen like Mike. It just took them a while. They started out 2-9, but by that mid-February, late February, they were cooking, and that was a good team.
Yeah, and so that was fun for us to watch them, like it was, know. So Ziggy, this is great. I can't wait. Cannot wait till we interview our next Red Devil alum. Can't wait. Thanks, man. As usual. See you, pal.